Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe, like all my videos, put all your comments and suggestions in the section below, and please check out all my other content once you're done watching this video. And in today's video, we're going to be analyzing the new AtlasIntel swing polls, which were released this past weekend, and we're going to be analyzing these polls state by state and putting them on our electoral map. Now this survey, these polls ended up covering the states of Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. So these are the 7 main states that these polls ended up categorizing in the toss-up column, and also these states that are surveyed. But for those of you who do not know AtlasIntel, AtlasIntel is a very reputable pollster. In 2020, they were very accurate, and we'd actually scroll down all the way to the bottom to see how they show themselves as being very accurate. And they're not just an American pollster, they are a global pollster, they're international. So here's the average margin of error in every state level and national poll in 2020. As we can see here, AtlasIntel did have the best track record by getting the margin of error the least. So they missed the polls the least amount. They're the most accurate in every single poll that was released. And we're very used to seeing Quinnipiac and CNN and Monmouth and New York Times at the bottom here. So this is something that everybody should be familiar with. This is not even based on what they release. This is based on what everyone else makes of them. And they are rated an A pollster. They're also well known in other countries such as Brazil for being accurate, Argentina, Chile, for example, and then obviously in Colombia as well, and Spain. So many countries, and these are all the countries they do represent. So that's very good of them, and that's how they've gotten this reputation, and that's why when they release polls, it is very important for us to analyze them. And beginning with their national poll that they had released previously in the month, it did end up showing a Trump +3 lead, which is not the same as many other polls. See, their poll is right here where they have Trump up by 3. Most polls do have Harris up by around 2-ish. So they're saying that Donald Trump is going to win the popular vote, while many others saying that Trump will lose it by a narrow amount. And so in the national poll, they did survey a pretty accurate representation. You have a majority female, and then you have 47% male. And you have around a R+1 environment, which is pretty accurate of what's going to happen. R+1 tied. Either way, if it was a tie, it would only be 1 point to the left. The age groups are very accurate. College samples, they do sample college degree or higher at 42.6 and all others at 57. And they do also have whites at 69%. So this is all very accurate. And this ended up coming around to a Trump +3 lead. If I scroll down to it over here, was Trump +2, Trump +3 around. And this is going to be leading us now into their state polls. And we're going to be going over these state polls. And we're going to begin with all of them in general. As you can see here, in general, this is some very interesting data here. Mainly quite the opposite of what a lot of people think. And in these polls, Trump ended up doing a lot better in the Rust Belt, and Harris did better in the Sun Belt. North Carolina, the biggest surprise for her is she's up by 2.4. In Georgia, Trump's up by 0.6. In Arizona, Trump's up by 1.2. In Nevada, Harris is up by 2.8. In Wisconsin, Trump's up by 1.5. In Michigan, Trump's up by 3.4. And in Pennsylvania, Trump's up by 2.9. So very interesting. Let's take a look at Arizona first. And in Arizona, they sampled pretty well, apart from the fact that they have college degree or higher at a majority. College degree or higher in Arizona make up less than 40% of the state. And usually college degree or higher voters mostly vote for Democrats, at least 60-40 margins. So this over here does end up underestimating Donald Trump's potential in the state. And the results still come out to Trump leading up by 1.1%. So it's fairly interesting here that in many of these crosstabs, when you include these college degree or higher, Harris ended up winning them by a large amount. But in reality, these college degree voters are less of the population than non-college degree voters. And so that's interesting over there analyzing that, but Trump's still up by over 1 point in that. Going now next to the state of Georgia here. Georgia is one of the most competitive states according to them. And all these other numbers look good, except once again, college degree or higher makes up 51.1%. And in the state of Georgia, college degree voters only make up 35% of the electorate. So scrolling down to the margins here, Trump leads by 0.3 percentage points. And we can see the college degree or higher, Kamala Harris leads by 8. So once again, They are overestimating Democrats in here, but also it is some fairly good margins for Trump with blacks here. He's at 78. Harris is at 78. Trump's at 21, which is a huge improvement. Somehow he's losing with Hispanics, and then whites are also very strong for him as well. So that's something interesting to see here. Head-to-head race, Trump up by 0.6 in the state of Georgia. And if we scroll down, obviously in many of these, actually in all of these polls, every state has Joe Biden's approval around the same margin, which is not that good for him. Most people do think that his performance as president is pretty bad. And then scrolling down to the next state, Michigan. And usually we say Michigan is the strongest state for Democrats. Well, in this poll, and this is considered a pretty good pollster for some reason, we're going to end up seeing how accurate this ends up being. But in this poll, this is the strongest state for Donald Trump. The margin of error is 3 points. And in this, we can see here, the college degree or higher is very accurate. It's very representative. And if you decrease those college degrees to 40%, which is exactly what it is, around 35 to 40% of the electorate, all these other metrics are very accurate, they're going to come out to a result like this, where Trump is up by not 3 points, but he's up by 4 percentage points. Trump is up by 4 points in Michigan, and that's pretty unheard of. I usually do not hear something like that. Going down the crosstabs here, we have Trump up by 16 among whites. Hispanics, Trump definitely closing the gap, as well as blacks and then Asians, Trump closing the gap a lot. So these are some very good numbers for Trump. If they do hold up, he's winning the independent vote, as we can see here. And then in the female vote, he's actually beating them. So obviously a little bit weird stuff going on here in the state of Michigan, but we see here the head-to-head, once again, Trump leads by around 3 to 4 points. Very interesting numbers right there in the state of Michigan. And next we have Harris's strongest state, I believe. It would be the state of Nevada. In Nevada, Harris is doing very well, it appears. In this poll, we have at college degree or higher at 30%, which is very accurate. All these other metrics are accurate apart from the partisanship, where we have a D+7 electorate. Meanwhile, in reality, the electorate in the state of Nevada is actually favored. So this does end up favoring Democrats a little bit. But either way, she is doing just well in the state. She's doing better than most of us thought. She is up by 3 points in the state. If we check the demographics over here, we have Donald Trump winning whites by 12. Hispanics are close as well. We have Harris winning them by around 13. Blacks are closer, and then Asians are very close as well. So the problem with the state of Nevada is that not enough Republicans were sampled, because these crosstabs are looking pretty good and accurate. The problem was over here when it came to these partisanship. We have Democrats being 7 points above Republicans, when in reality, it is actually a lot closer, and Republicans are usually in the lead. But either way, a pretty good poll for her. And moving on next to the state of North Carolina, the second and last state that she is also up in. But we see here the partisanship is good. We have Trump up by the amount that he should be up. But once again, college degree or higher, 53.5%. And in 2020, the college education level in North Carolina, and in 2022, speaking of both of them, the education level was around 40% or lower at college degree or higher. So they completely flipped it and gave college degree or higher the majority, which is not true at all. And this would end up giving her, once again, a 3-point lead because of that. As you can see here, college degree or higher, she's winning by 17 points. Checking out all the other crosstabs, we see here whites is a lot more narrow. Hispanics, a lot more favorable for her as well. Blacks are a little bit closer, and then we have Asians going to Donald Trump. So this poll in North Carolina is a little bit weird as well. I'm not used to seeing these numbers where Trump could be losing so much with whites and then gaining so much with Asian voters. And so it's very interesting. I think once again, what happened here was those college degree or higher voters were sampled way too high, which is up by around 2 to 3 points as well. But despite that, we see here that Joe Biden still has a very low approval rating. So it doesn't really matter what we sampled. Joe Biden still has a low approval rating. And most of these issues do remain the same. We got inflation, U.S. economy and job market, and immigration as the top 3 issues. And now we're going back to the Midwest. We're going back to the Rust Belt and seeing the state of Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania is a state that was also measured at 53% college degree or higher. We have a Democrat plus, I believe, 7 over here, or 8 even, Democrat plus 8 partisanship. But despite the college degree being 53%, when in reality it's under 40%, and the partisanship being a lot more Democrat than it's supposed to be, the results come out to a Trump plus 2.5 a vote. So what does this mean exactly if we see here in these crosstabs? What does this mean for the state of Pennsylvania? And it's what I've been really saying for a while, that I do believe that Donald Trump does have a very good chance and the majority chance of winning the state of Pennsylvania. I feel like Kamala Harris has not been in the state of Pennsylvania. That may explain why Kamala Harris is spending a lot more time in North Carolina and states like that rather than states in the Midwest. And that's something very interesting. We see here Trump in the state of Pennsylvania not necessarily doing so good with whites, but doing amazing with all the other demographics. Hispanics are cut almost in half the margin. We have blacks, Trump at 46%, and he's winning Asians outright. And we see here he's winning independents, 65 to 28. So very interesting out of the state of Pennsylvania. And then we're going to go to our final state, which is going to be the state of Wisconsin. Once we scroll down over here, the state of Wisconsin. And in the state of Wisconsin, once again, a similar problem here. College degree or higher is set 47%. One of the lowest out of them, and actually it's in the minority here, but still the college degree education level in all of these swing states is 40% or lower in any presidential election. The partisanship sounds a bit accurate. I think Republicans are actually a little bit more than that, but everything else is pretty representative. And we see here in the results, it is a very tight race, but Trump ends up leading the race by around just over 1.5 points. Looking at these once again, we see whites very, very close. Hispanics, Trump's winning 70 to 30. We have blacks, which is Kamala Harris winning by a huge amount, and then Asians, which is she is winning by 21 points. So very, very interesting numbers out of these swing states, and something that definitely we need to take a look at and put into our electoral maps. And so the averages with those are looking like very, very close. You know, we have Pennsylvania at Harris plus 0.1, the closest that it can possibly get. North Carolina is Trump plus 0.7. Georgia is Trump plus 1.4. Arizona is Trump plus 2. And then we have Wisconsin as Harris plus 0.8, Michigan Harris plus 1.4, and Nevada as Harris plus 1.3. So what does this look like on our map? If we fill out these states as usual, I'm just going to fill out all these safe states very quickly for Kamala Harris and giving her all these states of my prediction. And in these states that are going to be safe for Donald Trump are going to be as follows. And then over here, we're going to put the likely states for all of these candidates as well as the lean states. And once we finish doing that, we're going to be able to get to the map that we're all used to, where we have the 225 to 219 map, 226 to 219 map, the 7 swing states remaining. And going off of AtlasIntel's polls, we're going to find that in the Rust Belt, Donald Trump is sweeping all of these swing states. In Pennsylvania, Trump is up by 3, which puts it in the lean margin for him. If we go back to the state of Michigan, we have Trump up by 4, which is also in the lean margin for him. And then the state of Wisconsin, which is very close to begin with, AtlasIntel has it at Trump plus 2. So AtlasIntel has all of these Rust Belt states being in Trump's column, not by a tilt margin, but by a lean margin. Very, very interesting numbers. And in the Sun Belt, where the margins are a lot closer, we have the state of North Carolina, where Harris leads by 3. So that's in the lean margin for Kamala Harris. We have the state of Georgia, which does lead in favor of Trump, but by a pretty narrow amount. Still, he leads by around 1 point, pretty similar to the aggregate. And usually states, polls in the state of Georgia are the most accurate, so I can definitely see why they also got a result similar to the consensus. We have the state of Arizona still being strong for Trump. He is at plus 1, which is also in that tilt column for him. And in the final state, Nevada is surprisingly in her column, but a lot larger than most of us thought. She's actually up by 3 points, which is even larger than the aggregate here. So that would put that in the lean column. And this is our map. This is our map according to AtlasIntel. We have Trump at 290. We have Harris at 248. Trump still does win the election. And many questions are going to rise from this. Many questions are going to rise not mainly on Nevada, but mainly on the state of North Carolina. And most of it's thought that North Carolina would be a state that votes to the right of the Rust Belt. And I do still believe that's the case. I do believe that if they do get polls wrong, and they do get polls wrong, but the margin of error is usually much lower, and they are the most accurate usually, their national vote has it at Trump plus 3. So usually when we think that, it's either one of two scenarios is going to unfold. Either the state of North Carolina is going to trend heavily to the left compared to the nation, while these Rust Belt states are going to continue trending to the right. And at that, in that scenario, you will possibly have a Michigan going Republican, but Kamala Harris still winning Nevada by 3 points, as they said. So we have a 7-point differential between these two states. And I think that's almost impossible. And that's why their margin of error still sits at 3. And that's why margin of errors do exist, because it's still in that scenario where the margin of error applies completely in these two states. Trump wins Michigan by 1, and then he wins the state of North Carolina by less than 1 point. And that's also something that we can look at. Same with Nevada, but all these other states, Arizona, Georgia, are as close as we probably would expect. He surprisingly does well in Pennsylvania too, and Wisconsin is also as I expected. So a few surprises from these polls, but generally very good numbers for Trump in the Rust Belt. And usually if you win the entire Rust Belt, you are going to win the election. So that's something to look out for. But either way, that's all going to be for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, put all your comments in the section below, and I will check you guys out in the next one.